Hello and welcome to the Cheltenham Day 3 preview of the Coral Cheltenham Formbook. If you haven't already, make sure you check out episodes 1 and 2. Tom Stanley alongside me was joined by Jake Price to look ahead to all the action on both of those days. But this is the Day 3 preview where you've got two interesting Grade 1 highlights, of course, with the Mares Hurdlem and the Ryanair Chase taking centre stage. This episode of the Coral Cheltenham Formbook is brought to you by the Coral Rewards Shaker with 100,000 free bets up for grabs every day of the Cheltenham Festival. It's free to play and daily. Coral are here to make this Cheltenham more rewarding. 18 plus UK, online only, max one reward offer per player per day. 8 AM till 8 PM is the operation of the offer, and reward restrictions and requirements and T's and C's apply. Right, so for this episode, it's the first Formbook ever in person at a racecourse. Sandown playing host to Tom Stanley, Steve Mellish, and Coral's Dave Stevens with me. Tom, good to have you back with us again.
Great to be here. Well done for getting, with the presence of David Stevens here, the mind behind rewarding. I thought you got it out perfectly. That was sensational.
Let me hear you say it again.
The mind behind rewarding. Beautiful. Good, yeah?
Beautiful.
Checks in the post.
Thanks. Yeah.
Steve, thanks
Matthew Bruce just sound like he means it, doesn't he? That's the trouble. Yeah, I'm fine. Yes, sir. Hi.
And good to have you with us as well. Dave, looking forward to the festival?
Yeah, listen, it's a great 4 days, isn't it? It's the biggest 4 days of the racing calendar for bookmakers, all leading up to a brilliant Gold Cup day. This is day 3 of the preview. By day 3 of the real thing, I should look a shadow of my former self, but we'll get through it.
Yeah. By day 3 last year, I was in a terrible state financially and in every other way. It was brutal last year, but hopefully better this year.
Well, let's see how we get on then. We kick off with the 120, which is the Ryanair Mares Novice Hurdle. Looks a bit of a clash on paper between Bambino Fever and Oldschool Outlaw, but what's the betting saying, Dave?
Yeah, the betting agrees with that, Danny. Bambino Fever 6-4, Oldschool Outlaw, old rivals 5-2. 5-1 Sam with a vary. Now, a lot of these novices will have other options, of course. You have to go all the way down to La Conquière at 12-1, trained by Jamie Snowden for the first British runner. But that's something we're used to at these recent festivals. Irish domination.
Steve, these pair of courses, Dave says, are old rivals. What have you made so far? Do you think Oldschool Outlaw is actually, she has deserved those wins and has been the better horse, or do you think Bambino Fever will reverse that?
I think he's got the better form. Obviously, when they met, it was she previously has a run. Bambino Fever hadn't. But they then both run subsequently, and I think the form of the previous of the Outlaw I thought was better next time in a Grade 2. And I personally think the prices, I think Bambino Fever is priced up on her winning the festival bumper. And just a very quick thing, I think there were good horses in that race, El Caro, Idaho's Sun, no drama this end, but I don't think they were the horses who fought out the finish. I think the horses who fought out the finish, actually, they were just okay. The second and third are now rated 133. So I would be against her at the price. I think there's this assumption she's going to reverse the form, and I think she's got to go and do it.
What about you, Tom? Is it the Cheltenham link that's giving her 6-4 favouritism?
Yeah, well, I think it's Mullins with a mare and a novice, and I think she'll go off at the top of the market without doubt. She was obviously very good in the champion bumper last year, and that form is rock solid and very strong. But I think it's a very easy case. I think it's a sensible case to make that Oldschool Outlaw at the prices is the one to be with. I personally, I wouldn't back any of them. You mentioned Jamie Snowden's mare, and I think he can be a little bit underestimated when it comes to bringing horses here. Obviously has won this in the past, and for whatever reason, the Brits have had a good recent record in this. I was just looking, and they've won it, I think, 3 of the last 4 years. So obviously Henry de Bromhead took it last year, but then you had Love on While You Were at Well Golden Ace. I mean, if she lined up, I'm always going to pay something at a slightly bigger price, and I thought she could be one that was just a little bit overlooked.
Okay, La Conquière. Steve, you would be with Oldschool Outlaw, would you?
I would. Of the two, certainly, I'll more be against the favourite, I think, rather than, I quite like the horse that Tom Meza. I quite like Conky. I was very impressed when she won. And I might be looking for a day where to actually get a decent price about something. I just thought the assumption she would reverse the form is a bit I don't quite buy into.
I just feel like horses of her profile, like Conky, they're just going to be under bet, aren't they? They're just going to be a bit, maybe they're not as good, and I can see why the Irish at the top of the market are going to attract a lot of support. So that's why I look to play against that.
Absolutely.
And Dave, where would you come down?
Yeah, I feel like whether this is going to be a theme, I feel like we're in agreement completely. Of the two at the top of the market, I think there's too much of a discrepancy between them. This assumption that Bambino Fever simply will improve for the first run. Old School Outlaw would obviously come into that previous race having had a run. I'm not sure if that clear cut. And the Jamie Snowden mare, I thought a second to Ubeti at Ladaska was a really solid run. She was 2 from 2 over hurdles before that. And at 12 to 1, she has to be, for me, the each-way play. Look, it's going to be a bit of a theme of me as I look through these days' races. I'm sort of tempted to say Willie Mullins on. That is probably madness because look at his record at Cheltenham. But this is certainly a race I feel that Bambino Fever is too short at 6 to 4. I'm not sure. She's just guaranteed to go in the first places with them at Mansfield.
No.
Okay, that's a look then at the first race, the Mares Novices Hurdle. The next race in terms of the graded action is at 2:40. That's the Mares Hurdle, which obviously switched to Thursday this year. And again, it's a Mullins versus Elliott clash. Will Lossiemouth run? Well, for the minute, what's the prices, Dave?
Yeah, look, this is one of those races. There's going to be will she, won't she. Lossiemouth is currently odds-on favourite for this Mares Hurdle. Right Today's ahead is second favourite, but I think might go champion hurdle. But Gordon also has Woodoo. Golden Ace is another one that has this entry, but I'm sure will go elsewhere. It looks to be, I mean, it sounds boring. Steve, I think Lossiemouth will run here. There are other bits and pieces to fall into place. And I think she'll just win because I think her major rival, Bright Days Ahead, will go elsewhere.
Yeah, look, get it out of the way now rather than wait for the Ryanair. But this race and the Ryanair are why they shouldn't happen. I mean, we shouldn't be talking about, is Lossiemouth going to run? We shouldn't be talking about, is Factor File going to run the Gold Cup or the Ryanair? The important races should be the big races. I feel so strongly it diminishes the festival. But we'd have to do it. In the world I'm living in, she's not going to turn up in this race. I know she probably will, but I'm going to assume that Rich Ritchie and Willie Mullins decide, no, let's give it a go and run her in the Gold Cup. So in the Gold Cup, that would do, in the Champion Hurdle. I will go. I like as a horse. I like Woodoo. I think she's a horse who literally just does what she feels she has to win. She doesn't ever over it. So she often looks in trouble. I think she nearly always finds. I think she's got a great attitude, and I think she'll run really well, even if Lossiemouth does run.
Gordon Elliott waxing lyrical about her as well on the preview circuit.
Yeah, well, he put her up last year as his nap of the meeting, and he had to wait
Quite a while.
but he was right, and he's napped her again this year. Whether that's with Lossiemouth, I don't know. Can I ask you a question about obviously the move to the different course for the mares, Steve? There's going to be more emphasis on stamina, isn't there, as the new course? And do you think that's a concern for Lossiemouth? I know she's, 2.5 might be more her bag than 2 miles, but what if there's even extra emphasis on stamina? Is that a concern?
In this world where she's running, you're talking about.
Well, I know it's going to upset you, but she's going to run in this, isn't she?
If Constitution still runs in the Champion Hurdle, she'll run it. No, I don't think I'll bother at all. I think she stays strongly. Funnily enough, I don't think that would be. I think her and Woodoo actually are strong stayers in the trip. I wouldn't have that the reason she got beat.
I think she'll run here, Danny Lossiemouth, and I think she'll win.
Okay, Lossiemouth, you would be against?
No, I think she'll run here and I think she'll win.
And
Woodoo goes my heart. I wouldn't really have a penny on it, but Woodoo will be my hope.
Okay, that's the Mares Hurdle then. Next race to look ahead to is the Stayers Hurdle, 3:20. But before that, Coral are celebrating 100 years, set up back in 1926. So we again have asked the guys for their favourite memory of the Stayers Hurdle. So Dave, come to you first.
Well, firstly, before you say it, no, I wasn't at Coral 100 years ago. I started following you. Brilliant races over the years. Standout easy one, this for me. Big bucks, loved the horse, greatest long distance hurdler I've seen in my 100 years. He won it 4 times. I could have gone for any of them. I've gone for the 4th just because it was history making. Ran, of course, in the famous Andy Stewart colours, and it was just a brilliant day. And I never ever tire of watching it. But as I say, I could have gone for any of his 4. But Big Bucks for me, the absolute standout of the last 100 years in this race.
Steve?
So I'm going to choose the first race because it started the run, but best day I've ever seen it for sure. And that came at a time of some really good stayers, of Ingles Drever and Barracuda, and really good stayers. But I thought Big Bucks was terrific. Could have a moan and say I wish Quevedo would take it on, but she was going for the Mares. No, but Big Bucks was absolutely fantastic horse. And for credit to Paul Nicholls, to be fair, people forget what a good trainer he's been over the years. I know he's not the number one these days, but the number of good horses, Dave, he kept going for a long time. He's at the top level, and Big Bucks is a really good example of that.
And Tom?
Cole Harden for me on a personal level, just because Warren Greatrex was, when I was starting out, was very kind in giving me lots of time and was very helpful when I was going to his yard, and I was delighted for him. He burst into tears afterwards. And I'm a Gavin Sheehan fan as well. And it was it wasn't quite a David against Goliath, but he was still a big price going into it. Gavin got it spot on from the front, and it was more the scenes afterwards, which I really enjoyed.
I'd go for more of that, beating any power. Just a brilliant race from a memory. Also, would she stay? Well, she just about didn't. More of that, getting a good ride as well. And just remember that performance. It was a bit of a disappointment after that, more of that. He didn't really go on, but still a lovely performance in the Stairs Hurdle. What about this year's renewal, Dave? How do they bet?
Yeah, familiar names. Tiapu, 6-4 favourite. Honest to Policy, another one for Gordon Elliott, 7-2. Cabral du Mathan for Dan Skelton, same price. And in last year's winner, Bob Ollinger, 6-1, same price. The Cleve Hurdle winner, Marchand 2 for Emma Lavelle, of course, who's got previous in this race.
So you've got plenty of horses already won the race in the past, a couple of interesting up-and-coming stayers. Where do you side on Tiupu first, Tom? How do you rate his chances as the favourite?
I wasn't convinced with him last year, and I can't be again here. I mean, last year showed he was beatable. I think it seemed to play into Bob Ollinger's hands. They didn't go that quick. Maybe the history will repeat itself on that front. But I mean, I feel he's one of the favourites. I don't know, there's not loads of out-and-out shorties, so not loads of odds-on shots this year. But I feel he's one that you can get beat to Tiupu coming into this. I would be against him as I was last year.
And who do you like?
Well, just look, going down them, I'm buoyed by the news that Cabral du Mathan is a likely runner for the race, because I think he adds a load of intrigue to it. But by and large, I don't love connections changing their mind. They're obviously fully entitled to do so, and they're probably right to do so. But, Dan Skelton said his immediate feeling after Cheltenham when he won was, we're going to mind him. It might be a year too early for him. He's just 6, and so that the ground might come good by this day if we have a dry time of it. But I like him in the race because he's going to hold up the prices of some of the others. But I think it might be a little bit too soon. I thought Honesty Policy. Look, he's well found in the market, but I thought I'd rather have him on side than Tiupu. Obviously, we haven't seen much of him at all. But his novice form was very strong when winning a Grade 1, just beaten by Jasmine Dever at the back end of last year, and I thought that was very much a reappearance effort last time with this in mind. So I would go for the up-and-comer, which is Honesty Policy.
Steve, already spoke to Tom about Tiupu, but what about the defending champion, Bob Ollinger? 11 years old now, but Henry de Bromhead reports him to be in mighty form at home.
Yeah, I think you can argue that the prices are, again, too far apart. They're 1-1 in recent run, although they're over a period of time. But last year's race, Bob Ollinger was emphatically the best. Obviously, at Leopardstown, a race fit Tiupu, which, to be fair, was very good and was emphatically the best. But I'm not sure that wasn't just a sort of a prep run for Bob Ollinger to get in there. So I don't think there should be the difference between them there is. And one of them, it's likely, I guess, that one of them. But I'm with Tom a bit here. I don't think Honesty Policy's form is good enough at the moment, but I do think he's also open to more improvement than most of the race. I think he's unexposed to the stayers. There are 2 runs around the 3-mile trip. Both times he's never had a proper gallop to. I think a proper test of stamina will see him improve. Whether it be enough, I don't know. But I'd rather have him than try and work out who I prefer out of the other 2.
What have you made briefly of Cabral du Mathan this year? Do you see him out as an out-and-out stayer, or has he got too much speed?
I worry, and particularly if at the moment, I was looking at the forecast this morning, I know they get it wrong more than we do, but there is a fair bit of rain still meant to be coming in the next 2 weeks. I would be worried, I think Dan Skelton will be worried if we end up a really soft ground stayers race. And if we got, spring round, good to soft, and then I think his chance would increase. But no, I think I don't blame him for finding that. He enriches the race, but I think I'd be largely against him.
It's funny because you can have an immediate reaction after a race before Cheltenham and go, look, and then you get near it and go, well, there's only one Stairs Hurdle. There's only one Mares Hurdle.
Absolutely. No, there aren't. That's the point. There's about 7 this year, I think.
Dave, what about yourself?
I thought it was interesting, Steve, you mentioned the weather, because I think we have to talk about it, actually, because I think this is a race where the ground could have a huge impact.
Yeah.
I think softer ground will suit Tiupu, and I think you'll go off even shorter than he is now. Better ground, even though he's 11 now, I think we'll play into Bob Ollinger's strengths. Yeah. He's only had the 1 run since he won the race last year. Also, obviously, the second to Tiupu. He'll improve bundles. Right? Yeah. I'd love Marchand too to run a big race. I mentioned Emma Lavelle, obviously, previous form with Paisley Park. I think his Cleve Hurdle win puts him right in the mix, as does the betting. just going back to Cabral de Mathan, when he dotted up at Haydock on his first run of the season for Dab, we were quoting him for the champion hurdle at that point. I think that was 2 miles 3.
Yeah.
And he showed so much speed. Then obviously they stepped him up in the Railkill, wasn't it, on New Year's Day at Cheltenham. And you're right, Dan was sort of about Aintree at that point. But look, you're an owner that spent a lot of money like these guys have. You've got to consider Cheltenham. I think the ground will be a huge factor for him. I think the ground will be a huge factor. On soft ground or easier, I'd be on Tiapu's side. On good to soft or better, I'd be with the reigning champion at the age of 11. Any stats on 11-year-olds in this race?
God, no. I was trying to think of ones that horses haven't run over 3 miles winning it, but I don't know it. Yeah, I think More of That was one of those.
Very poor. The presenter doesn't know it either.
I don't think More of That had run over 3 before he won. Anyway, there we are.
I don't have time to look, but I'll try and have a look.
Probably
later
not.
on.
It'd be boring. Good. Go on.
So let's look at the Stayers Hurdle. They had a couple of votes from the guys for Honesty Policy, along with TUP, moving Marsh on 2 to run well as well at a bigger price. The other grade one, of course, is the Ryanair Chase. Now, this is a tricky race to weigh up, given you don't really know where a lot of these are going to run, as Steve has maybe already suggested. But what about the betting at this stage, Dave?
Yeah, look, we should stress, of course, it's all non-runner money back at this stage anyway, so you've got that safety net. But Factor 5 is currently trading at odds on to repeat last year's, it has to be said, mightily impressive win. Then his stablemate Gaelic Warrior is 6-4. Ilote Tomp is 5-2. Django Bay won't come here. John Bon will come here at 4-1. I'm sure John Bon will come here at 4-1. But this for me, whichever one of Gaelic Warrior or Fact File runs, and I don't think they will run in the same race. I don't know anything. I think whichever one of them comes here will win this. And I think whichever one of them goes to the Gold Cup won't win the Gold Cup, but we'll come on to that at another time. I hope I've made that as clear as mud.
Yeah.
Which horse will run here out of the 2, if I asked you now?
I think Gaelic Warrior will run here. John Bon is, going to fly the flag for the owner, and I think Factor File off the back. I think it's harder for them not to run and supplement for that because he won over the trip at Dublin, just shy of it. So I think Gaelic Warrior is the more likely of the 2 to run here. I'm probably wrong.
Sort of building on that point, Steve, it'd be folly for the Irish Gold Cup winner to not run in the Cheltenham Gold Cup.
Well, I wish it would run. I personally, so one of us will be right. I think they run Factor File here as defending champion. I wish they wouldn't. I would love him to run the Gold Cup. But I just think it's, from their point of view, an open goal. If Gaelic Warrior doesn't run, I think he'd be on Tom, wouldn't he, Factor File?
Yeah.
And if he reproduced last year,
Yeah.
it's hard to see why he get beat.
Do we know, is John Bon likeliest to run here?
Surely. I would.
That is
good.
Yeah.
Chase,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think he's the champion Chase, sadly, has proved a rare step too far for this one.
And they got Madgeborough there.
And they've
so
got Madgeborough there.
That's why I thought they might go the other way.
They're trying to supplement him for the Mares, but there's a problem with it.
On that, I wouldn't you love Panic Attack to run here?
Absolutely.
It'd be like she'd have a right chance.
Yeah, but she probably
She
won't.
could be second. No, she's got to go to the Mares.
I rest my case.
This theme is just really taking a hold of my case.
Another horse to mention, Steve, though, Heartwood, who we definitely know will run here.
Yeah.
Good winner at Tremor.
Good winner, John. Comes here in really good form. Very hard to kick out the frame. Don't think quite a Factor File on Gaelic Warrior yet, but absolutely is in the mix. I think I'd prefer him to John Bon personally. Definitely John Bon's record at Cheltenham and whatever. And a couple of hard races. But I think Heartwood is, great respects. But I think the other 2 are absolute genuine Grade 1 horses, and whichever one runs is entirely a short price favourite, I think.
So for you, it'd be
Factor File. I think that my guess is purely as a guess. I think they'll run here.
Tom.
I backed Heartwood last year. He was no match for Factor File. Betting wise, I think Gaelic Warrior will run here, and I'd have him on side to go and win. But I'm not telling you much because I don't know what sort of price he'd go off if he lined up and Factor File didn't.
And Dave?
I think Gaelic Warrior would also start odds on. If he comes in, Factor File doesn't. Look, it's whichever one of them runs here, and I reiterate, I don't think they will take each other on in either race. I think whichever one of them wins. So I just want very quickly, I'm looking through the betting, and I'm Henry de Bromhead, Willie Mullins. So, how much do you care about the Presbyterian Cup? As in, you're backing a winner. Do you care if he's trained in Ireland?
Personally,
Britain, Timbuktu.
honestly, not at all. Personally, I'll be honest. I mean, I'll watch it. I'll be interested.
Yeah.
I suppose in terms of Cheltenham coming there from going in the late 70s, I started. I think the meeting works better when there is a rivalry, and because of the skill of Mullins and Elliott and whatever, there's not been much rivalry for years. So I would quite like it to be closer. In terms of on the day, I want the horse back to win, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. That's what I said, because I'm looking at the latest Pressbury Cup betting in Ireland are 1-7.
Oh,
and I thought coming into this thinking, the Brits could get off to a good start. And then I look at the betting for these individual races, and I look at the betting for the Pressbury Cup. Tom, again, does it matter to you when you're watching it? Or did it matter a little bit of spice, or?
I want it to be closer because I think that makes it more. Now this year you've got much more of a Henderson Mullins battle at the top of the markets. We missed Nicky obviously a couple of years ago when it all went wrong, and he's got more ammunition across the board this year for certain. And I feel like the Pressbury Cup will probably be a little closer this year. The markets will tell you that because you don't have as many Mullins odds-on shots. But in the last couple of festivals, he's had 9 and 10 winners Mullins, and I think the problem with the Britain in the Pressbury Cup is it's not just those Grade 1s, it's those younger horse handicaps where Brits don't necessarily get a sniff. We can probably bag a Grand Annual and an Ultima, but other than that, it's the handicaps where you tend to come a bit unstuck. So I think it'll be closer, yeah.
Okay, that's a look then at the Ryanair Chase. So that's all the graded action done. But what about the handicaps? You've got 3 races on the card, the Jack Richards, the Pertemps Final, and then you finish with the Kim Muir. In terms of the Jack Richards, that looks pretty competitive. Regent Stroll, I think, current favourite with Coral, Dave?
Yeah, Tom's talking about, these young handicappers going to matter. Well, Paul Nicholls obviously won this race last year. I think he's got a cracking chance again here. It's hard to think he won't improve for his New Year's Day second at the track. He was giving £5 to the winner that day. So that Paul will have him. This is the thing you were mentioning earlier, Steve, about Paul Golden area, the mastermind of big bucks, Quarter Demon, when he had the Millionaires Row. He's much more, because he doesn't have the great superstars, he's much more laser focused. And this, you feel that this would have been the target for this horse, wouldn't you?
I completely agree.
He does not want to bring a horse here to make up the numbers. That's not the way Paul operates. And I just think Regent Stroll could be one for the home team in one of these handicaps.
Yep.
What about yourself, Steve?
I echo what Dave's saying. Really, I think he targets races he feels he can win. I think he will end up very frustrated at the end of 4 days if he's not got on the board. So, Regent Stroll, I think, has been brought along quite steadily. I thought he ran pretty well at Cheltenham last time out, and I think he'll be primed for today. And he's only got to reproduce his good hurdle form to go very close.
Cocktail Divan only gone up £1 by the handicapper. A lot of people saying got a good chance for him with the Brom Head runs here.
Yeah, he's going to be very popular. That Oscar's Brother form was pretty strong as well. Just on Paul Nicholls' horse, look at last year. The horse that won at Caldwell Potter, they spent a load of money on, and everyone was going, "What are they doing with this horse?" He wasn't worth that money, but he was aiming back from this and campaigned him, I think, perfectly for this. I wanted to mention Meet Me by the Sea. I don't know if he's definitely going to run. I think he's a bit of a tool off 139, to be completely honest. I think he's very well handicapped. I think it was quite sensible they ran behind Lulamba last time in the Game Spirit. Is that the Game Spirit? And I don't know about the distance because he's saved his best so far over 2, although he ran pretty well at Sandown last year, but over 2.5 over hurdles. But I think off 139, he could have a load of room.
That's the Jack Richards. Next up then is the Pertemps. This sort of maybe hinges on Imposed Trois if that horse runs, favourite, and also from a weights perspective, Dave?
Yeah, and he's currently favourite Imposed Trois. A couple I like. Say Different, trained by Sam Thomas. Absolutely, I think went up £12 for the qualifying one of this. Didn't stop him at all. He came out and won again really well. Again, this will have been the target since then. And Emmett Mullins brought out Melbourne Shamrock at the weekend at Naas. We rightly respect anything Emmett Mullins trains, and this sort of preparation for this, get him into the race at the last opportunity. I think he's another one that if the ground comes up on the easy side, soft side, then I think he's a major player, Melbourne Shamrock. But Imposed Trois, you're absolutely right. His participation or otherwise will have a huge impact on the market.
What about yourself here, Steve?
Yeah, I've got a reason, certainly a punting point of view for me. We talk, just make comment that Dan Skelton's a target trainer. Just give you a good example. I found this amazing. In October, he ran in the qualifier. Marchantou won the race, who's now £25 higher than on that day. Electra Mason, who went on to win on Betfair Day at Haydock, is up £11. Supremely West, who didn't get beat far, is down 2. And that is a good bit of training. At least 2 of those races as well, I think you can make genuine reasons why the horse didn't run to what we thought he might do beforehand. He says trying to get himself out of trouble. I think he will run his race in the final.
Can I just, because this is the horse who I have since that. I wonder whether we were working together at that Cheltenham Day in November. I can't remember.
You were most days.
When I do, yeah. When Harry Skelton went round the inside.
Yes.
I think the only time he went round the inside all day.
Yes.
Behind, was it Gow Road? It's just, it's what they've done incredibly well to have him rated 135.
I think so.
My issue is he's 8-1 or there or there. What is he now?
He is, yeah.
And I'm going, well, yeah. So do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's how do you quantify whether or not he's actually good value at that, or whether he actually isn't going to run his race?
Yeah. Look, it's a fair comment, and that'd be a personal thing, really. I just think he's done a remarkably good job to get him in, guaranteed to run and offer a winnable mark.
So are you siding with Supremely West?
I've been banging on about him since November. I've got to have him on side, but I was hoping that he might be a bit bigger than 8-1.
Okay.
Steve, you've been on him since then.
No, I haven't been on him. I've just been, it looked the way. He qualified, and as you say, look at him now, £2 lower than that run. He's got to be the best handicap horse in the race.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That's Supremely West then in the Pertemps, and then the final race, wow, another horse who sneaked in, you could argue off 145 is Jericho de Repney, who is your 4-1 favourite, I think, with Coral Cheltenham.
Yeah, it sounds really boring. I think he looks a really obvious type. But JB McManus has 5 of the first 6 in the betting, so I'm sure plans will become more fluid on the day. But Jericho de Repney, currently the clear lead, market leader by some way.
An interesting campaign, Steve.
Very. Again, my day will depend on those 2 races. I like Jericho de Repney. I think the horse has got a little bit of something about him. He's got a little bit of return. Quite a hard ride. Genuinely think that. I'd be amazed if he doesn't turn up with quite a good Irish amateur on the day. They'll all come up with the names. It wouldn't surprise me. This is a pure guess. I have no information about it. I wouldn't be surprised if he put some sort of headgear on him for the first time. I do think it's the best handicapped horse in the race. I really do. I think this has been. It reeks of Henderson laying him out for the race. It's good training, so I've got no problem with it. So I think yes, that would be the way I side. I think if he's going to win, I think 4-1 would be a long time gone. That might feel. Yeah. I think that could be a short price. It could be a drifter and run terrible, but I could see it being a 7-4 chance on the day.
Agreed.
Tom?
No mass. Yeah, I'm out, I'm afraid. I think, he could go off very short, but at this stage, nothing for me.
Okay, that's a look then at all the racing, but to finish, it's time for the nap. So it's time for the 100-second Coral Cheltenham briefing, because Coral is celebrating 100 years and giving away 100,000 free bets every day of the Cheltenham Festival. So let's start with you then, Dave. What's going to be your nap on day 3?
I'm going to go for Paul Nicholls in the Jack Richards to win it again with Regent Stroll.
I'll go for Supremely West in the Pertemps.
And Tom?
I can't put up a real shorty now, can I?
Of course you can. Of course you can. He's going to go for Bambino fever each way.
I was going to go for Lossy Mouth in the Mares. Because I think she'll run no, I'll go for Honesty Policy. Honesty Policy in the Stayers.
And I'm going to go for absolutely Doyen in the Pertemps, a horse who's thoroughly on the upgrade for Paul Nicholls and hopefully open to a bit more improvement at 12-1. Well, thanks very much to Tom, Steve and Dave for their company for the first show that we're going to do, the 3 of us. We've got day 4 coming up and then also a best bet show. And just a reminder, another word from our sponsors, Coral. Remember, of Coral's free-to-play reward shaker, there are 100,000 free bets up for grabs every day of the festival. That's Cheltenham. What is it? More rewarding. 18 plus UK, online only. Max 1 reward offer per player per day. Reward restrictions and T's and C's apply. And please remember to gamble responsibly.